It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show focusing on fishing, hunting, outdoor recreation, destinations, and conservation in the region where you live and play. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you by Mack's Lure Company, Sportsman's Warehouse, Stehekin Valley Ranch, and Wallowa County. And now, let's see what's going on in the field and on the water with your host, John Cruz.
It's that time of year. If you've been listening to this show, you know every September we head to the Columbia River Gorge near the Dalles for Fish Camp. It's put on by guide and promoter Ed Iman, and it is always a ton of fun. It's a group of outdoors media members and fishing guides, tournament anglers, and people who work in the fishing industry. Some of them are rod makers, others lure makers, others make accessories, others are retailers. But we get together to camp, to have fun, to fish, and eat way too much good food. Having said that, Fish Camp 2018 was a different sort of fish camp because no salmon fishing was allowed in the Columbia River, and there were darn few salmon to be found in the Klickitat or up the Deschutes where it is open for fishing. But there were some steelhead in both of those streams, and Drano Lake, not the river, but the lake that connects to it on the Washington side of the river in the gorge, was open for fishing and kicking out salmon for a couple of our guides who made the drive there with Fish Camp attendees. However, it was mainly a walleye, bass, and sturgeon show this year, and you know what? It was still a whole bunch of fun. The location, as always, was the Peach Beach RV Park, a great place I'd highly recommend, just across the river from Biggs Junction, Oregon. This week on the show, we'll be sharing the stories of some of the folks who attended Fish Camp and sharing some info about fishing here in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge along the way. We'll start off chatting with Bill Matthews. He's a sales rep for Eagle Claw. He's a blogger with a website, and he's a kayak angler who took me and writer Dave Kilhefner out for a fun morning of smallmouth bass fishing on the Columbia River near Miller Island. After we get out of our kayaks, we'll chat with Bruce Warren, a Mack's Lure Pro Guide and the owner of Fishing for Fun Guide Service. He was taking Fish Camp attendees out on the Columbia below the John Day Dam for some exciting catch and release sturgeon fishing. If you're wondering what to use to catch fish around here, look no further than the Gorge Outfitters Supply in Rufus. Wendy Herrera is the owner of this well-stocked store, and she'll give you some suggestions about what to use to catch walleye, sturgeon, and bass right now in the Columbia River. Speaking of fishing lures and gear, we'll talk to Ron Stallings with TTI Blakemore about a new salmon and steelhead Roadrunner jig they've come out with for Northwest anglers, and to Bill Fulmar, the owner of Folbe Advantage Rod Holders, who will explain why his rod holders really do give you an advantage on the water. But before we head to Fish Camp, let's check in with David Sparks and see what he's got for us this week on Sportsman Spotlight.
Chokes, and I'm not talking about what might happen to a quarterback in the final seconds of a tight game. I'm talking waterfowl hunting. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. The predictions for the 2018 fall flight of ducks and geese should get any smoothbore enthusiast quite excited, thank you very much. We're living in the good old days, and this fall is likely going to be the best any waterfowl hunter has ever seen. The fact there are more birds in the migration than ever before does not equate to bringing more home on your hunting excursions. Don't leave success to chance. Instead, improve your shotgun success by maximizing your effective pattern on ducks and geese. Chokes will increase your range and hitting power no matter what shot size you prefer. Chokes were designed to maximize range when shooting steel shot. Here's Everett with his description of choke power.
Essentially, at the end of the barrel, what it does is it tends to funnel that pattern of BBs. There's minor changes in them. They go from full, modified, improved, or the three basic ones. Then they start getting crazy. There's probably 15 other different choke sizes out there, clays and sporting guys and different things. But what it tries to do is contain the BBs that are ejected out of that barrel into a pattern so that you can control it. So if you need a wider pattern, you can open it up completely, or if you need a tighter pattern, you go with that.
Good luck with your hunt. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Hi friends, Russell Nemitz here. Anytime a new product delivers an increase in alfalfa yields by over 14%, we want to know more. Here's Cool Planet's Jerry Van Eldren to tell us about Cool Terra.
Thank you, Russell. Healthy soil is a foundation for your productivity and sustainability. So we engineered Cool Terra to improve key soil characteristics in conventional and organic systems. Innovative growers using Cool Terra have seen alfalfa stand and yield improvement when applied at or prior to planting. When applied to the root zone, Cool Terra builds soil structure and creates an ideal habitat for microbes. Its fixed carbon composition improves the sustainability of your land and provides long-lasting productivity. In fact, Cool Terra has delivered yield improvement over 3 years of stand life in several independent third-party trials. Cool Terra is available for sale through your local fertilizer retailers, including Nutrient Ag Solutions, Helena, and J.R. Simplot Company. Call your crop advisor today or contact us at coolterra.com.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, and with over 90 locations, you're sure to find a store near you full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. You'll find it all at Sportsman's Warehouse. Better still, the knowledgeable staff can help you with tips and frequent in-store seminars, all designed to help you bag a trophy or a limit this hunting season. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun. Rise above.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's the Fish Camp Edition. We're broadcasting from the Columbia River Gorge, bordering Oregon and Washington. We're near the Dalles, and I just got back from a great trip kayak fishing out near Miller Island. The person who took me out today was Bill Matthews. He's an outdoors blogger. He's a sales rep in the fishing industry. You can find out more about what he's writing about and taking pictures of at his website, BillMatthewsOutdoors.com. Bill, welcome to the show, and thanks for a fun day on the water.
Oh, John, thanks so much for going with me. It was an awesome day. I love this area. I couldn't ask for more.
I love the fact that you took us out here, and this is not your first rodeo, so to speak. But before we get into the trip, I want to talk a little bit about you. You're a sales rep for several different companies, including Eagle Claw, which makes great fishing tackle and reels and those yellow rods you remember when you grew up, and some really nice rods now. But you're not from here in Oregon, Washington. You're actually originally from Arkansas, and I see from the hat you're wearing, you went to college in Missoula, Montana.
Yes, I am a Grizz. My wife's a Grizz, and now my son plays football for the Grizz. So a little proud dad moment there. But yeah, we both went to college at Montana and migrated over here and just fell in love with this whole area. It's such great fishing opportunities, and I couldn't leave.
You really enjoy kayak fishing, and you were telling me that you actually go several different places in the Columbia River, but this is your favorite trip, launching on the Washington side and kayaking out to Miller Island and fishing around the island for smallmouth bass. Tell our listeners why it's so special.
First of all, you won't really see another boat out there. You're all by yourself. The bass fishing is incredible. Today was average, but there's 100 fish days out here, big fish, beautiful setting. You got the big cliffs and the islands and the river, and you're all to yourself. It's unbelievable. So it's one of my very favorite things to do.
Well, the Columbia River Gorge, folks, is definitely one of the most scenic places you're going to see here in the Pacific Northwest. But Miller Island is an interesting place itself. We stopped there for lunch, and when you get there, you see several signs about protect the Native American heritage, look but don't take anything from here. I understand, because you told me this, that Miller Island's got quite a history with Native American peoples.
Yeah, from my understanding, before they put the dams in, it was a major Native American trading center. So they would trade for various things, and so I know there's a lot of arrowheads and artifacts and stuff which you can't take, and there's petroglyphs on the walls. So it really has a rich history here in the gorge. I wish I could have seen it before they put the dams in. It would have been neat, but it's still a big, huge island to this day.
And there's a ton of wildlife, too. I mean, just driving down to where we launched, we had a red fox bound across the road in front of us. There's deer tracks all over the place. We saw marmots. We saw coyote tracks out there, too. Tons of birds, obviously, in the area. I mean, bring your binoculars and your camera, folks, not only for the wildlife, but just for the gorgeous views. Again, you've got, the basalt cliffs. You've got the gorge itself. You've got Mount Hood that's not too far away. I mean, it's just a beautiful setting to go fishing, especially on a beautiful September day like this.
Oh, you couldn't ask for a better fall day than today. It was just perfect. A little windy this morning, but it died down. Wind is tough in a kayak, but the afternoon was just perfect for us, and in a kayak, it's just so calm and quiet, and catching smallmouth bass, it's kind of surreal.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how we went about things today, and we'll start off with the boats themselves. I love these Jackson kayaks. All of them are Coosa's 12-foot kayaks. Tell our listeners a little bit more about these. You bought 3 of them. You really like them.
I do. I started with one, and they're very stable, extremely comfortable, and so easy to fish out of. You can maneuver them, turn on a dime, and a really nice seat in these, so it's comfortable to fish for. If you don't take a break for 4 or 5 hours, you're fine. Your back won't be hurting you, and they're very fishable. You put all your stuff right in front of you. You can have tackle out, change your lures, and fish. I think, for me, it's the most fishable kayak I've ever had.
Well, and you're absolutely right about the stability. I also like the fact that they actually track surprisingly well, and they paddle very well. Most people, when they think of a fishing kayak, especially a sit-on-top fishing kayak like the ones we were out of, is not being very wieldy, that they kind of move around the water like a tank, but these were really easy to paddle. They did just great.
Yeah, I've tried other kayaks, and I keep coming back to this. I had one, then I had 2, now I had 3. It's kind of an addiction, I think. I need to maybe stop now.
Well, and best of all, folks, you can do like Bill and just throw all 3 of these kayaks in the back of your pickup truck, and you're off and running. And one other thing about kayaking is that there's not a big learning curve. I mean, I've done some kayaking, but the other outdoors writer that went with us today, Dave Kilhefner, who writes for Salmon, Trout, Steelheader, he's a fly fisherman. He spent time in a canoe, but you would never know that he hasn't spent any time in a kayak before. Not only did he do great in the kayak, but he outfished both of us.
Yeah, he sure did. But a beginner can get in these and have a really good time. You don't have to be afraid of it. Take a little time to familiarize yourself with how it functions, but it's easy and it's fun. And at the end of the day, you can throw them all in the back of your truck and head home, and it's easy on, easy off. I find that I fish more out of a kayak than out of a boat just because it's so easy to throw one in the back of my truck and go fishing.
The kayaks, again, are Coosa 12-foot sit-on-top kayaks by Jackson Kayaks. Very well made if you want to check those out. And one note of caution, though. If you're going to be fishing on the Columbia in a kayak, you want to check the wind forecast. And were you just doing that off weather.com?
I use an app called windfinder.com. If you just Google wind forecast Rufus, Oregon, it'll come up, and you just hit that windfinder.com, and it'll give you an hourly forecast, but you definitely want to check that before you go.
A windy day on the Columbia is not a good day to be in a kayak, but a day like today was a wonderful day to be in a kayak. Again, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Bill Matthews. He's got a website, BillMatthewsOutdoors.com. He's an outdoors blogger. He's an avid kayak angler. We've been kayaking near the Dalles in the Columbia River Gorge. And let's talk about how we were catching these bass, what we were using. Some really nice yellow rods from Eagle Claw. These were not my father's or my Eagle Claw rods when I was a kid.
Everybody likes to laugh at the old yellow rod, and we still make the fiberglass feather light rods that you remember in Trailmasters. But these are skeet reese bass rods. They're a graphite rod. They're very nice. They are yellow, so you can see them, but they have a great action. It's a high modulus graphite. And for this kind of fishing, their spinning rods are ideal. Perfect.
Well, they were. Love the reels that went with them. 10 ball bearing reels. What kind of reels are those?
Those are our skeet reese spinning reels as well. They pair up with those rods perfectly.
And exactly what were we using to get those bass? I know our listeners want to know that.
Well, we were using some tube baits with a Trocar, which is an Eagle Claw premium hook, Trocar tube head, 1/4 ounce and 3/8 ounce, and then we were using swim baits with a 1/4 ounce head. That's a Trocar swim bait head as well, and those Trocar hooks are 3-sided, super sharp, unbelievably strong. So it's a great setup, and they're eating shad and crawdad. So that's the two things we were really going after today.
Well, there you go, folks. If you haven't thought about it before, consider heading out towards the Dalles and maybe kayaking out into the Columbia River. You don't have to go to Miller Island, though it's a beautiful place to go. There's lots of places where you can catch smallmouth bass. There's lots of places to launch, too. You can launch from several places in the Dalles itself. You can launch at the state park at the mouth of the Deschutes River or Mary Hill State Park, and there's lots of other public primitive boat launches as well on both the Washington and Oregon side. If you want to find out more about what we were using today, go to eagleclaw.com or Jackson Kayaks. Just Google them and you'll find their website in a hurry. And if you want to find out about what Bill is writing about, go to his website. It's BillMatthewsOutdoors.com. Bill, thanks again for a great day on the water. Can't wait to do it again.
Thanks, John. It was an awesome day. Thanks so much for coming with me. You made the trip really great.
Rise above us. Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Go fishing, help salmon, and make money. You can do it from May 1st through September 30th by catching northern pike minnow and turning them in for cash. Here's how it works. First, register at a designated station on the Columbia or Snake River. Then, go fishing. At the end of the day, turn in any pike minnow you catch 9 inches or longer and look for the ones with tags worth $500. You'll get vouchers for those pike minnow you turn in, and you mail those in for cash. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
NorthwestFishingReports.com is the Northwest's largest fishing reports website, featuring well over 50,000 fishing reports, videos, articles, and more. All 100% free. Catch more fish with Northwest Fishing Reports. Log on today.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
Our Fish Camp edition continues, and we're checking in with Bruce Warren. He is a pro staffer for Mack's Lure Company and the owner of Fishing for Fun Guide Service. He'll take you fishing throughout Southwest Washington, and this week at Fish Camp, he's been taking people fishing for sturgeon in the Columbia River Gorge. Bruce, great to have you on the show again.
Well, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Bruce, you've been fishing the last 3 days. How's the sturgeon fishing been right below John Day Dam?
It's been pretty good the last 3 days, John. We've been getting 2 or 3 to the boat a day. We're getting several bites. There's lots of sturgeon out there to be had, and we're enjoying it. It's fun.
I know you've gotten several over 5 feet, and I understand today you had one so big that you never saw it.
Nope, it grabbed the bait and it decided it didn't want to be near the boat and didn't want to play that well. So it took off, and unfortunately we had a little mishap with the reel, and it just snapped the line and away she went.
Well, folks, there are some really big sturgeon up here. As a matter of fact, one fish camp, an 11-footer was caught. This fish camp, in another boat, a 10-footer was caught. How are you catching these sturgeon?
Well, we're using a lot of different techniques, a lot of different baits. But sturgeon fishing, unlike a lot of things you can use on artificial for, sturgeon is a bait show. Fresh bait will catch your fish. We're using some fresh salmon pieces. We're also using roll mop herring, sand shrimp, night crawlers. Any fresh bait right now will be able to get you bites.
How much weight do you need? And I know it's all current dependent, but where do you start in terms of the weight? And then how much leader beyond that? And what kind of hook?
For the weight, John, I'm running about a 10-ounce lead. And I like the cannonballs up here because we have more rocks up here. So if you use a pyramid like we use in the lower river, it will get hung up more. Use the cannonball, it doesn't get hung up as much. Still gets hung up, but not bad. Leader length, we're using a 36-inch leader. We're using Dacron. You can use monofilament, but I recommend the Dacron up here. It doesn't hurt the fish as bad because it doesn't cut them when that fish rolls. Hooks, anywhere from a 5/0 up to about a 9/0, depending on what really size you're looking for. A good all-around hook is a 6 or a 7 or even an 8/0.
Well, there you go. You know what you need to catch sturgeon and release them right here below John Day Dam. And Bruce will take you fishing for sturgeon, both catch and release fishing, and when it's open, catch and keep fishing in the lower Columbia River, too. What's the website, Bruce?
FishingForFunGuideService.com.
That's FishingForFunGuideService.com. Bruce has been doing this for a while. You'll have a lot of fun, and you'll catch some fish, too. Thanks, Bruce.
You bet. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Are you looking for a game changer to help you catch more trout, kokanee, and salmon? No problem. Just tie on Mack's Crip Lure. Cast it or troll it. Either way, its specially designed ring chamber emits a low-frequency vibration with its erratic movement. It will catch more fish and make them strike. Better still, the different colors for the lure can be matched to just about any fishery. Look for the Crip Lure from Mack's Lure Company at a sporting goods store near you or go online at maxlure.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight today by visiting backcountryhunters.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
I'm gonna jig me up a walleye from the bottom of the lake. And I'm not gonna
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's the Fish Competition broadcast from the Columbia River Gorge. Currently, we are broadcasting from Gorge Outfitters. It's a little sporting goods store in the town of Rufus. Now, I know some of you are thinking, where the heck's Rufus? Well, I'll tell you. If you're driving along I-84 and you see John Day Dam, right next to it is Rufus. It's also about 25 miles east of the Dalles, and this might be a relatively small sporting goods store, but it packs a whole lot of punch. With us here to tell you more about this store and what it offers, along with some of the fishing in this area, is the owner, Wendy Herrera. Wendy, great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Wendy. Let's talk a little bit about your store. You just took over this operation not too long ago, didn't you?
I did, going on my second year.
Well, I absolutely love it. Number one, you've got everything you need as an angler and as a camper in this area. And what I really like about what you have here is, you know, I can walk into certain stores and they'll have fishing gear, but it's like what I call a corporate package. They're going to have the same fishing gear here that they're going to have in Arkansas, that they're going to have in New York. But what you have is fishing gear and bait and supplies that's specific to fishing right here in this area within like a 10-mile radius. It's brilliant what you're doing here.
Yes, we are very proud of what we call our walleye corner here in the store. We specialize in the walleye fishery as well as the salmon, steelhead. But we have all the walleye harnesses, all the walleye jigs, everything you need to fish walleye right here, and all the other supplies for the other fisheries for this area as well.
You know, I'm actually looking at the freezer right next to us. You've got whole shad, squid, and sardines, and that's for the sturgeon fishing. And you've got some great sturgeon fishing literally right outside your door here.
We sure do. We do have some guys on the water this last couple weeks that are catch and release sturgeon, coming in and using the frozen squid for those. And when we start our actual sturgeon season back up January 1st, we will have a lot of people that come for that fishery as well.
I can tell you, having been at fish camp now for about 15 years, the sturgeon here, they honestly get up to 11 feet. Now, you can't keep them that big, but if you want to literally wrestle a monster, you can do so right below the John Day Dam. You mentioned the walleye fishing around here, and especially this year with salmon closed because of poor runs, there's a lot of people, including a lot of people from fish camp, that are out after walleye right now. What would you recommend that they use?
Right now, I would recommend jigs. The water conditions are perfect for jigging right now. You would want to use the jigging wraps and the special walleye jigs that we make here in the store. Also, a real popular item right now are the deep dive and walleye bandit plugs. I would recommend those as well. We also tie up our own walleye harnesses using the butterfly blade from Dutch Fork, and I highly recommend those as well.
It's funny you mentioned the jigs right off the bat, because one of the boats came back yesterday and it was about an 8-pound walleye that they caught right below the dam, and they were jigging. As a matter of fact, most of the guys that are here at fish camp this year, they're normally salmon guys, and they're going after walleye, and they're figuring it out using jigs. That's where their success is coming from. Now, in addition to the walleye gear that you've got here, you've got a lot of bass gear too, and that's because you've got a dynamite smallmouth bass fishery, not only right here, but on the John Day River.
Yes, we do. In fact, pretty much right now, this time of year, that's all we have to fish for is our walleye and our bass due to the low salmon return and the shutoff of the salmon and the steelhead. So yes, I definitely have to have the supplies here for that fishery.
Well, you've got lots of plastics for it, and folks, that is ideal for fishing the Columbia and the John Day. What are some of the bigger size bass you've seen come to the store, either picture-wise or people just bringing them in when it comes to the bass? Are we talking 5-6 pounders?
7 pounders. I've got some pictures of 7 pounders that have come in. Early this spring, I did see some big bass that came up from the John Day River up by the Narrows that were largemouth. We don't see largemouth bass very often at all here.
It's almost exclusively a smallmouth bass show at this part of the Columbia River and in the John Day too. That's really surprising.
We were all very shocked. We definitely had to take pictures so we could prove that they were largemouth, but only early spring you'll see them and catch them then, and then they're gone.
Well, there you go. But right now, you can catch lots of smallmouth bass, and you can catch them, like when he just said, up to 7 pounds. We've been catching out of fish camp up to 4 pounds, several 3-pounders, so the fishing is good for the bass. As you just heard, the walleye fishing's going on too. The catch and release sturgeon fishing is going on, so you don't have to be completely bummed out that salmon's closed on the Columbia along with steelhead. Speaking of salmon and steelhead, there is one place close by where folks can get to, especially if they're willing to hike or if they can go up there on one of the days where power boats are allowed. That's the Deschutes River, and you can still keep salmon and steelhead up there, can't you?
Up above the Moody Rapids, you can, yes.
So you're going to have to hike, at least half a mile, and a lot of folks are either hiking or, believe it or not, mountain biking a lot further than that. What are they using? I understand Blue Fox spinners is kind of the go-to. I know that's what I've used in the past to catch both salmon and steelhead up there.
That's what we see they're using, is a blue fox or a rooster tail.
The traditional Deschutes River color for salmon and steelhead has always been a chrome blade and a blue body, but that has changed. I understand the colors now kind of go with the colors of Gorge Outfitters Supply,
which is pink.
So are we talking chrome blade and pink body?
Yes, chrome blade, pink body.
And are we still talking number 4s for steelhead, number 5s for salmon?
Generally, yes.
And I can tell you, having hiked up there a couple of days ago, at least one guy caught a nice salmon and 2 guys caught steelhead. And yes, you can catch them on the fly too. You have to release the wild ones, but there are some fish for the taking if you're willing to work at it. Again, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to Wendy Herrera. She is the owner of Gorge Outfitters Supply in Rufus, Oregon, right next to John Day Dam and the Columbia River Gorge. It's a great little store, and it really has everything you're going to need to have a successful fishing expedition right here, because it's very specific to the fisheries going on here. In addition to fishing gear, you've got some clothing, you've got some supplies for people who are camping around here, but you also serve food, don't you?
We do. We've recently started biscuits and gravy and large pizzas to go, in addition to our adult beverage selection.
One more thing I want to explore. I'll be honest, you are the first woman I have ever met who is the owner of a sporting goods store. So I don't mean to make this sound sexist, but you and I both know that the angling industry is by and large male dominated. And I guess I'm just wondering, has it been an issue to be a woman and establish that street cred, so to speak, that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing when it comes to this business?
At first, when I bought the store, it was a challenge for me. I've been in fisheries my whole life. At first, I think I could not gain the credibility from the male fishermen that were coming in here. But once they learned that I did know what I was talking about and I did have the products in here that they needed for the fishery here and gained their respect, then the flow became very, very easy.
Well, you certainly have mine. And folks, if you come in the store, I think you will find that she knows what she is doing, and you ought to listen to what she has to say if you haven't figured that out already in the last few minutes. Now, not everybody can make it out here to the Columbia River Gorge. We've got listeners as far away as California and Montana and Wyoming, but you do sell products online too. What's the website and what are folks going to find there?
Our website is gorgeoutfitters.com. We have a lot of our walleye products on there. The walleye harnesses that we tie up here, the walleye jigs that we pour here, those are all available online. In addition to some of our apparel, basically anything we have in the store you can also buy online as well.
So there you go. Even if you live outside the Columbia River Gorge, if you're a walleye angler and want to try something new, you might want to check out GorgeOutfitters.com. That's GorgeOutfitters.com. You might be coming back to this website again. And if you are fishing anywhere in the Columbia River Gorge, especially around John Day Dam or the Deschutes River or the John Day River, you should be stopping in to Gorge Outfitters. And Rufus, what are your hours?
Our hours are 7 days a week. We open at 6 o'clock every morning and close at 6:30 in the evening, except for Friday and Saturday we're open till 7.
And if you stop by in the morning, don't forget the biscuits and gravy. And if you want pizza in the evening, they even deliver to the boat launch. Wendy, thanks so much for telling us about all the great stuff you have to offer on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you all here.
Take me up a walleye right now.
Go fishing, help salmon, and make money. You can do it from May 1st through September 30th by catching northern pike minnow and turning them in for cash. Here's how it works. First, register at a designated station on the Columbia or Snake River. Then, go fishing. At the end of the day, turn in any pike minnow you catch 9 inches or longer and look for the ones with tags worth $500. You'll get vouchers for those pike minnow you turn in, and you mail those in for cash. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
Nevin root motor and Minn Kota troller and Lowrance fish finder or two. We push off the dock just before 5 o'clock and go sailing off into the blue. We really don't care what size fish that we catch, as long as we have one to hold.
We continue to broadcast from Fish Camp in the Columbia River Gorge, bordering Oregon and Washington, and we wanted to tell you about some new lures. Actually, they're kind of old lures. They're called Roadrunners. They're very unique jigs. They've been around a long time, but there's a new twist to them. With us here to tell you more about Roadrunners, both new and old, is Ron Stallings. Great to have you back on the show again.
Thanks for having me back.
So, the Roadrunner, for our listeners who are not familiar with this lure that's been catching bass and panfish for years, tell them about it.
Well, the Roadrunner was invented in 1958, and the whole idea was to have a blade up underneath the chin of the bait that causes sound, flash, and vibration. And most fish look up, and when they look up, they want to see white bellies or flash, and that's what the blade does.
A lot of folks are familiar with Roadrunners with plastic grubs on them. There's also Roadrunners with marabou on them. There's Roadrunners with bucktail on them, too. And they've been catching bass. They've been catching panfish a long time. And you don't fish them like you do a normal jig in a vertical manner. How do you fish these? We'll start off with panfish and bass.
Well, the best thing to remember, the rule of thumb is you can't fish them slow enough, but the idea is just to get the blade to turn. And once you get the blade to turn, that starts the sound, flash, and vibration, which entices the strikes.
Now, you've come up with a new line. This is the twist, folks. It is a salmon and steelhead runner. They are definitely in some salmon and steelhead catching colors. There's purples, there's pinks, there's black and whites, there's orange and browns, and a whole lot more that salmon and steelhead love. Tell us more about this line of the Roadrunner.
Well, what we did with this one is we extended the nose down on this because we know that you want to get down a little bit quicker. The standard Roadrunner head is a little bit wider and shorter, but this is longer and narrower. So when you're fishing current for salmon and steelhead, we went with a narrower head and applied the blade to the bottom of it. But what we did is we applied a bunch of marabou. This is quadruple the marabou that's on this thing. It comes with a holographic finish. It has willow blades, some gold, some silver. They have great black nickel premium hooks and 3D eyes. And the same thing applies with this lure as with anything else. You have to fish them slow. Now, a lot of people will have talked about tipping it with live worms. There's not really necessary to do that. You can apply some scents to it. You can apply a scent right in the center of it that would entice a strike. But for the most part, the people that have been using this lure have already caught salmon and steelhead on it. And one of the guys out of Washington was using the color 663 pink smelt, pink and white. He's already caught salmon. He's already caught steelhead on it. So we're getting positive reviews, and we're excited about this thing being out here. And one of the things that I will definitely mention to you is, as you know, marabou collapses when you bring it in. Even in current, if you stop the retrieve and give a little bit of slack, the marabou will open up, and that will also entice a strike. So we've got a really good thing going on here, and we're hoping everybody will just get on board and use a salmon steelhead runner. They come in 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, and 3/8 ounce. The 1/8 ounce has a 1/0 hook, and the 1/4 ounce and the 3/8 ounce has a 2/0 hook, but this is a very, very heavy-duty black nickel premium hook.
Well, folks, this is the sort of jig that I guess you can fish it under a float, but it looks like it's going to be best for just a cast and retrieve, maybe twitching it along the way to get that marabou action that Ron just talked about. Where can folks buy them?
They can get them just about anywhere, especially up here in the Northwest, but you can also get them at TTIBlakemore.com if they're not in your local tackle stores.
It's the new Salmon Steelhead Roadrunner. Look for it this fall to help you catch more salmon and more steelhead and put another tool in that tackle box of yours. Ron, always a pleasure to have you on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much, and I'll look forward to doing it again.
Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we've got another product review for you from Fish Camp. We're talking to Bill Fulmar. He is the owner of Folbe Products, LLC, out of Seattle. They make rod holders. Bill, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
So, Bill, I did that lead in, and a lot of our listeners are probably thinking, so what? There's a lot of rod holders out there. But let me paint a picture for you, folks. I bet if you're like me, you've owned some rod holders where you're trolling along, and that rod goes off, and all of a sudden, you're doing your darndest to wrestle that rod out of the holder, and it's a mess. And when you finally do, that fish is off the line because you just couldn't do it very smoothly or very fast. But, Bill, you, years ago, came up with a solution for that, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It's pretty simple, really. The natural thing for you to do is to pick up the rod. And this rod holder, you can pick it straight up with two hands, and you're fighting the fish immediately.
The thing you have on this rod holder that's so different from other ones is basically a clamshell. So you put it in, you close the clamshell over it, and then it just pops open when you lift straight out, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's amazing because when you pull down on the tip of the rod, it's locked in there all the tighter. But when you pick up even with both hands, you're fighting the fish in a very short distance.
Folks, I've been on boats where there's been Folbe Advantage Junior rod holders and there's been regular rod holders. And if you're due basically like a quick draw, so to speak, the Folbe Advantage wins out every time, doesn't it, Bill?
Oh, yes, it wins out every time.
We've got a Folbe Advantage Junior here. It's the smaller model. But another thing I like about these rod holders is that one rod holder will hold all sorts of different reels.
Yes, it will. Spinning reels, bait casters, any of the level line reels.
And let's talk about mounting, because you can mount this on just about any sort of boat, can't you?
Yeah, you can mount it. You've got the options of, like most mounting systems, you got a flush mount, a pedestal mount, a side mount, and we have mounts that you can fit on pontoon boats and canoes.
So there you go. It's the Folbe Advantage. It'll make fishing so much easier. Those days of losing fish while you're trying to wrestle those rods out of your rod holder, they're over if you buy the Folbe Advantage. Now, you're based in Seattle. Where can folks buy your rod holders?
Outdoor Emporium, Ted Sporting Center, Sportco in Tacoma, and online from Cabela's.
And any other places in the Northwest?
Yeah, Fisherman's Marine Supply in Portland, and there's various smaller stores have them too.
All right, so if you're listening on AM 1640 The Patriot, you can pick up Folbe Advantage rod holders at any of the Fisherman's Marine Supply stores in the greater Portland area. If you're listening in our Western Washington stations, you just heard where to pick them up there in Seattle, Tacoma, and all the way up into Linwood. And again, if you can't find it there, just look at your local sporting goods dealer. They're all over the place in the Northwest and online and even nationally in some places at Cabela's. Or you can go to your website, which is
Folbe.com.
That's Folbe. That's Folbe, Folbe.com. Check out these rod holders. I've got one. I love it. You will too. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Bill.
Thank you.
I miss Lake Bemidji and all of my buddies and all of the beer we go through. Chucking big bait, making figure eights with musky spinners and lures. Oh, honey, I love you, and that's not a lie. Musky guides all tell the truth. This must be the reason why I miss fishing more than I miss you. This must be the reason why I miss fishing more than I miss you.
Tired of the same old fishing hole? Then head to Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Enjoy a weekend on the glacial waters of Wallowa Lake, where you can troll for the deep water excitement of kokanee or cast your line for some trout fishing fun. Bring your float tube or canoe and enjoy fishing in some of Wallowa County's small lakes. Or don your waders and step into the clear waters of the Wallowa, Imnaha, or Grand Ronde rivers. Early to bed, early to rise, fish all day, and there'll be no need for lies when you fish the waters of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Visit us online at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
One of the things I love about Stehekin Valley Ranch is their Back by Dinner adventures. Go on a guided kayaking trip on Lake Chelan, ride a horse with a wrangler to a mountain lake, or rent an electric bike to explore the valley and experience the beauty of Rainbow Falls. There's also fishing, hiking, wildlife watching, or just relaxing and soaking in the beauty that nature has to offer. Finish it off with a fantastic dinner and save room for the pie. Find out more at StehekinValleyRanch.com.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter and has the quality gear you need for hunting, fishing, camping, and more. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff will help you find the right product so you get the most out of your time in the field or on the water. In addition to stocking superior clothing and outdoor equipment, we offer in-store events and seminars so you can enjoy a successful adventure. With over 70 stores located in the United States, it's easy to find a Sportsman's Warehouse store near you. Find out more at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
Cast and blast your way across eastern Washington's Columbia Basin this fall with guide Shelby Ross. Shelby is an expert when it comes to walleye and bass in Potholes Reservoir, Moses Lake, and Banks Lake. Shelby can also take you out on a field hunt for geese or out for a morning of duck hunting and a lunch of kebabs. Trust me, you'll love it. Can't decide whether to cast or blast? Go on a combo trip. Book now at potholesfishing.com or ducktaxi.com. That's potholesfishing or ducktaxi.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight today by visiting backcountryhunters.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We've got time for one more shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
Welcome back. Hey, if you're a Friday or Saturday listener in Central Washington, and if you're looking for something to do this weekend with the kids, I've got just the thing. The North Central Washington Fishing and Hunting Day event is taking place Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the North Central Washington Gun Club on Fancher Heights in East Wenatchee. It's being put on by the Wenatchee Sportsmen's Association, and it's absolutely free to attend. There's going to be all sorts of exhibitors there. There's going to be a lot of kids there, too, and they're going to have the opportunity to safely shoot a bow, a shotgun, or a rifle at the range. It's a great way to introduce kids to fishing and hunting or reinforce that love for these sports. So don't miss out. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And now it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. This Oregon River has its source in the Cascades and flows into the Pacific Ocean near Gold Beach. You can see some of it from a jet boat, and other parts you can only see from a raft or a drift boat. There are lots of roadless areas along its banks, several well-known lodges, and lots of wildlife to see. In fact, famed Western writer Zane Grey built a cabin here back in 1926 to better enjoy the great fishing. Oh, and those fish. You can catch trout, steelhead, and Chinook salmon out of this waterway, known as one of the best fishing streams in the entire western U.S. Here's your question. Do you know the name of this river? If you do, just go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com, go to our Contact Us page and let us know. Or if you're on Facebook, go to our Facebook page. You'll find that at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like our page, go to the post, and give us your answer there. One lucky person who guesses right is going to win that $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. That question again, what is the name of that great Oregon fishing river that originates in the Cascade Mountains and flows into the Pacific Ocean at Gold Beach? While you're on the web, you can hear our show on demand, several different platforms, your choice of Stitcher, Podbean, or YouTube. And you can also hear segments of our show on our website, too. As we wrap up this Fish Camp edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, I'd like to thank Ed Iman and Pam Prettyman, along with their support crew to include Lavon, Dwayne, Fred, Jesse, and everyone else who put together another great fish camp for all of us to enjoy at the Peach Beach RV Park right across the Columbia River from Biggs Junction, Oregon. And if you're looking for a place to stay that doesn't involve camping while fishing around here, whether you're fishing on the Columbia, the Klickitat, the Deschutes, or the John Day, I would highly recommend the Dalles. You can fish, kayak, or hike during the day and enjoy a drink or a meal at one of their breweries, like the Freebridge Brewery or Sedition Brewery downtown, and then enjoy a good night's rest at one of the quality hotels you'll find here. If you want to find out more, go to thedalleschamber.com. That's all for this week, but until next time, I do hope that God blesses you greatly and that you make it a point to spend some time outdoors.